Why did you end up leaving sober living?
The sober living was not actually a secured, structured, safe place for me and my kids.
This is case number 2524SM, Appearances Counsel.
Is it all for the people?
Robert Hartzell from Ms. Bell joins me at the table, Your Honor.
All right, and we are here for a probation violation. Mr. Hartel, is there any resolution in this matter?
There is not.
All right, Ms. Dull, are we prepared for a hearing?
Sure am.
All right. So we are here, the violation alleges that the defendant failed to contact the probation upon leaving sober living on or about August 16th, 2025, that she failed to complete counseling, that she failed to complete substance use assessment with Catholic Human Services. She failed to appear for a probation show cause on the October 21st. And that there's been no contact with the probationer, at least at the time that this was signed, since July 11th. Your first witness. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you've given this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
And whenever you're ready, Ms. Dull.
What is your state name and spell it, please?
Melissa Bismack, MELISSABISMACK.
Bismack, how are you employed?
I am the legislative probation officer.
And have you been employed in that, how long have you been employed in that capacity?
It's been over a year and a half.
Are you familiar with Justina Bell?
Yes, I am.
Are you familiar with her?
Ms. Bell was sentenced to probation on 2/25/2025. We met with her on that, went over all her probation requirements, enrolled her in random testing. She also was referred to Catholic Human Service for a substance use assessment and recovery program.
Did you see Ms. Bell in court today?
Yes, she's sitting at the defense table next to her attorney in the white sweatshirt.
And the record reflects that the witness identified the defendant.
Mr. Hartel.
That's fine.
It should so reflect.
So the terms that you stated you went over with Ms. Bell, did you personally go over them with her?
I did.
And do you remember what day it was that you went over them with her?
I met with Ms. Bell on February 25th, 2025.
All right, let's go one by one. So, as part of her condition terms, was she at some point ordered to go to sober living?
That was not an actual order. She was to be in a recovery program and counseling. I helped her get into a treatment facility because she had come to me saying she needed help.
Did you ever inform her that if she were to leave sober living, that she would need to contact you immediately?
Absolutely. After she left treatment, she went into the sober living facility. We had contact with Justina. The last date would have been July 11th of 2025. She was working at the time. She was moving to a new sober living house, and I advised her that she needed to let me know what the address was and when she was making that move. She did not return any calls to our office to let me know where she was.
One of the orders of probation is that she keep her address, employment, and contact information current with the probation department.
Yes, and she is to have monthly reports, which we understood she was downstate at a sober living, so those were actual phone reports that she was able to do at the time, which she did not continue with the communication.
Have you tried to reach her since July 11th of 2025?
We had tried a handful of numbers that were given to us. I had personally left voicemails with her mom and spoke with her mom asking if she'd spoken to Justina to have her call our offices.
And since July 11th of 2025, has Ms. Bell contacted your office?
She called on the day of her show cause. I'm not sure if she has spoken to my staff. It was not okay, a phone report for that show cause. I had spoken to her later and told her she needed to report in person for that show cause because I had not seen her in 3 months. This was not an over the phone report. I did not know where she was living. She had no testing verification and no verification of the new sober living facility.
And the date that she contacted you, was that on, or I'm sorry, that you made contact with her, was that on October 21st of 2025?
That was, yes.
And would that have been over 90 days that she has not made contact with you?
Thereabout, yes.
Now, you stated that she was ordered to complete a substance use assessment with Catholic Human Services, is that correct?
Yes.
Did she complete that?
I have not received a copy as she did.
And was she supposed to provide you a copy of that?
Yes, she was referred to them her first date of probation.
To your knowledge, has she contacted Catholic Human Services?
To my knowledge, I cannot say she has.
And she was ordered to complete counseling, is that correct?
Yes, she would have completed counseling after her assessment, so we can see what level of care she needed.
And to your knowledge, she didn't, do you know if she completed counseling?
I do not have any verification of counseling.
And was it her responsibility to provide verification of completed counseling?
Yes,
And she did not provide that documentation, correct?
correct.
Now, you stated that she was supposed to appear for probation violation show cause on October 21st of 2025. Did she in fact appear in person?
She did not. She called and said she was told by one of my office personnel she could do it over the phone. I informed her she is not, she's to be in person. That show cause was set for 2 p.m. I informed her she had until 4 o'clock to get in. I was in the office that afternoon. I told her she would have to report in person and she failed to appear.
Just to be clear, based on your records, she did not contact you after leaving her sober living on August 16th of 2025, correct? And she did not provide proof of counseling?
Correct.
And she did not, to your knowledge, complete a substance use assessment with Catholic Human Services?
Correct.
And when she was told by you personally to appear in person on October 21st of 2025 for a show cause, she did not appear?
Correct.
And she failed to make any contact with you between July 11th of 2025 and October 21st of 2025?
That's correct.
And all of the things that we mentioned were either part of her probation terms or things that you've ordered her to do, correct? I believe that's all the questions I have.
All right, Mr. Hertel.
Just a few, thank you. If I recall correctly, you were saying that you talked to my client on October 21st.
Yeah.
All right, all right. And she had told you that she talked to someone the day before, was it?
I do not recall if she said the day before or that morning. I know she had just informed me that one of my staff had told her she could do a phone in.
Did you double check with your staff to see if that was true?
I did, and they said they did not tell her to phone in. They told her it would be in person.
When, in the previous past, before that, you mentioned that she had done some phone reporting. Is that accurate?
When she was down in sober living, she was able to, yes.
Okay. And if I recall correctly, you were saying, well, you typed up this complaint, I believe, on the 17th of November. Was that right?
The recommendation?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. And in it, you mentioned failed to contact probation since July 11th when you wrote it up, right?
Correct.
Even though you talked to her on October 21st.
That was when I wrote up the probation violation. Yes, I had talked to her on the 21st, and I had wrote up the probation violation on the 22nd.
When it comes to sober living, do they normally do any type of assessment to see if people need anything? Is it something equivalent to a substance use assessment at sober living?
I did not receive a copy of that if they did do one. Normally, sober living is basically a place where all females would go in her case. You would find work, you would do random testing, meetings, etc., things like that to keep you sober.
All right. Did my client, to your recollection, tell you why she didn't complete the sober living program?
All I know is that there were some issues going on. I did hear from the facilitator of the sober living house. There were some issues, and Justina left kind of abruptly and was not welcome back. And Justina had tried to tell me that pretty much the same thing, that she had left because there were too many issues.
All right. Well, I believe you answered the questions I had. Thank you.
Ms. Dole.
I don't have any-
All right, Ms. Bismack, you may step down. Further proofs?
One moment.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Hartel?
My client would wish to testify on her own behalf. Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Bell, if you could come up here to the stand. Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You may have a seat. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Hartel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, are you currently on probation?
Yes.
How long have you been on probation?
No,
I'm sorry, I need you to speak up.
sorry, 9 months, close to a year.
Okay. And at one point while on probation, did you go to sober living?
I did.
Was that voluntarily?
It was along with a little, like a plan, me and my probation officer
Okay.
talked about the one.
Do you recall your probation officer telling you that you needed to do a substance use assessment?
I do recall that in the beginning, but I do remember it being something that, because I went to rehab and I'd asked for the help, that was something that I could have taken care of during the rehab and during sober living. And it wasn't talked too much more about that after that. So I thought it came along with the rehab kind of thing.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are you saying that you thought it was already resolved for some reason?
I thought it was resolved through rehab and sober living, yeah. I wasn't sure that it was an actual evaluation through CHS where I had to get it paid for and taken care of and reported back. I thought it was part of my rehabilitation, yes.
After these proceedings began, you were assigned counsel. Did you reach out to Catholic Human Services?
I did, yes. On Monday at 4:45 p.m. I had my substance abuse evaluation taken care of, in which I had help with the payment from the prosecutor, the public defender's office.
So even though they haven't formally given you a hard copy of it, you did at least talk to them?
Yes, I did.
If you would have been aware of the fact that it wasn't resolved at sober living, would have done sooner?
Absolutely.
Well, I'll ask it this way. Do you remember doing any phone reporting of any kind?
There's 2 phone calls in sober living that I talked to with Melissa, to check in and see how things were going. And that was the time, that was about the only time. And then there's one time where the facility for sober living had said that, or I asked her for proof for Melissa for the address and my clean drug screen, that when I got there, they gave me one. So that was the only. Yeah, it was Heather's a facilitator of the, sober living. She had gotten proof of my drug screen they gave me from the first day I got there. And then my address, because Melissa had asked for an email with that information, and to my knowledge, it was sent to her.
Why did you end up leaving sober living?
The sober living was not actually a secured, structured, safe place for me and my kids. They were undergoing an eviction notice, so I didn't know that when I moved down there, and I had already been working. I had been doing really good, going to my counseling, doing NA, and when this all happened, it ended up being a situation where she ended up moving in a home to Stiller. She wasn't supposed to be living there, but she did, because she had lost her place of living. And it all kind of came crashing down with all the girls, with some of the girls were using drugs in there, with marijuana and drinking alcohol. And when I had come up here to visit with my family, I went back down there, and that's when it just kind of blew up in my face. It was just because I didn't want to be there with my kids. So I ended up finding a different place to go.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, my sponsor, who has been sober for 10 years, she was my sponsor when I met her down there. Her name's Elizabeth Grimm, and she's been my sponsor since the day I moved down there. And that's where I moved to, because she knows that I was doing good. I had my children, I had a job. I was really adamant on not losing that job and keeping my life going. So I ended up living with her.
On or about October 20th, did you reach out to the probation department?
I did. On October 20th, I called the community corrections here, or probation, and I talked to somebody. I don't recall who it was, but I talked to them and asked them about why why I got the show cause sent to my mom's house. I didn't know about it up until I think 3 days prior, that Friday, I want to say. And so I called the day before my show cause, asked if I could do it over the phone, because I didn't know how I was gonna make it up there. I don't have a car. You know, I'm working full time. I have my kids, so it was gonna be.
What was the response to that inquiry?
I was told that was a couple-minute wait, and the lady came back and said that as long as I call tomorrow at that 2 o'clock, I can do the show calls over the phone.
Now, without playing it just yet, do you have that recorded?
I do.
Your Honor, since the rules of evidence are much looser at these type of hearings, I would ask for her to be able to play that next to the microphone for the court.
Any objection?
I have no objection. It's a probation violation here.
If you could.
I'm sorry, Darren, I can't hear.
Yeah, let's get closer to Ms. Dahl, you can come up if you want.
You may have to restart it.
That's fine.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry. It was, you couldn't hear you.
So there might be calling your probation officer. That's office. We don't have any knowledge of a address.
And then this whole court, the show cause is just a, is it a show cause or is it a probation report? What is it?
So you're supposed to report to probation office. Probation officer.
Oh man, so I have to drive 3 hours of home morning. Okay, so
Over, I can write down the address for your file.
okay, so the address that I live at now is 725 Lincoln Road. Lincoln Road.
Lincoln.
Yep. Grosse Point, Michigan. And that would be a different address than what my PO does have, because I have not seen or talked to her, and I've talked to her probably about a month and a half, 2 months now. I don't know, but I just put it in one second, look it up. Yeah. email on me right now. I'm in the car, so that's such a pain in the ass. They have a lot of addresses, a lot of, what do you call it, I just moved here probably about 3 weeks ago, if that. Yeah. So, yeah, and I have not told my people about it, so that's why I figured this was for, and I understand that because I need to update her on everything. So zip code for Grosse Pointe is 48230. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Ms. Bismack, are you able to hear that?
Yes. Like a 3-minute wait from here to-
If the court's okay with it, we're okay with it, we skip the wait for John.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I got your new address written down. I just talked to one of the compliance officers, and if you were, if you were to call tomorrow for the phone, your appointment is at 2:00. Alright. Okay, remember you just called me on, and you would listen that way.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really wanted to clear this up because my mom really didn't explain much to me and it kind of made me feel like it might have been like an issue.
That's probably sufficient. If the court wanted her for the rest for judicial purposes, I wouldn't be opposed to that, but I believe we have what I want. Thank you. My only follow-up question to that, ma'am, and there probably will be some cross-examination, as I told you previously, and I know you're aware of that. But that phone conversation, did you rely on the information you got from that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how did you rely on it?
With everything I have, I talked to them and I would assume because they're part of the court
I'm
system.
sorry, Ms. Bell, I need you to speak up.
Sorry, I relied on them with, everything I had as far as like, I trusted them because it was a court number that I called, it was who I talked to was part of the office. And I would assume I wasn't gonna give misinformation, be misinformed about
I
something.
don't believe we're trying to claim any malice here, but what I'm
Right.
trying to ask is, did you presume that you were then allowed to call in the next day
Yeah,
and be okay?
absolutely.
All right. You've answered the questions I had. There will probably be some cross-examination. Thank you.
Ms. Bell?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Bill, do you remember meeting with Ms. Bismack on the day you were sentenced?
I do.
Do you remember going over the terms of your probation with her?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember one of the terms being that you complete a substance use assessment and supply that to the probation office?
I do.
And you said that you thought that during the rehab, the assessment would suffice.
I did, yes.
Did you personally take any steps to get that substance use assessment to the probation office?
Not personally. I believe that it was a part of my beginning of like rehab, when we do assessments for rehab. I thought that would have been something that would have been worked back to us.
Did you ever ask anybody at the rehab whether your, what they assessed you as is a substance use assessment?
Not specifically, no.
Did you ever ask them to send that documentation to probation?
I did on what documentation that I had, yes, as far as the questions they'd asked when I first got there. My receiving assessment when we get to rehab. I did ask for them to send proof showing that I was there as well.
Did you verify with probation that they received your assessment?
I don't recall.
Did you complete counseling? Substance use counseling?
As far as what, I don't have an date for my counseling.
Did you ever do any substance use counseling?
I did when I was in rehab, yes, and I was in sober living, so,
Did you complete it or did you leave early?
substance, like counseling, as far as like a counselor.
Correct.
I didn't know specifically what counseling, as far as like sit down with a counselor, or if it's considered, the counseling I did in rehab. I sat down and talked to the counselor, that was completed, because I completed the program. Now when it's sober living, I had my own counseling through my, through Bicycle Health, which would have been the group meetings and counseling monthly with my doctor.
Did you
So-
complete that program?
It was an ongoing program.
Are you still in the program?
Not now, I just changed last week to a different doctor for a different program, which will require different counsel here.
Did you provide any proof of any of that counseling to your probation officer?
I did recently, the group meetings and everything else, when I seen her on my last night.
After you were in court for this probation violation? Now, you stated in the phone call that you didn't up your address, you did not update your address with probation, is that correct?
Yes,
And did you know that one of the terms of your probation is that you update your contact information with your probation officer? After you left sober living in August, did you update your new address after that sober living facility with your probation officer?
no, not until that phone call is when I talked, even the address out of that.
So you left the sober living facility in August. Did you move to Grosse Pointe in August?
Yes,
You stated in the phone call that you moved about 3 weeks prior, and that phone call was in October 20th, is that correct?
so like, yeah, probably I'm off on my time, but I'm not,
I'm sorry.
I'm off on the timing. It could have been a week or two difference in that. So I moved right in with my sponsor. Which is really,
That's over 2 months difference from August 16th to October 20th. Are you saying you lived at one address between the time you left sober living and the time you updated the address with probation?
yeah, yes.
Did you reach out to probation at any point since July 11th up until October 20th of 2025?
I don't know if our phone call that me must have had last week before that. I don't recall exactly what the date was.
Did you know that you were supposed to at least phone in every month as part of your probation?
I do,
And you didn't do that in this case?
no,
1 moment, Your Honor. No other questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Hertel?
Just I promise not to do too much redundancy. I know you've been answering quite a few questions, and I think you've been up there. But just to confirm, what did you think sober living was all going to be sending? Why did you think that?
I'm sorry about that.
As far as documents sober living was sending, and your rehab and all them, what all did you think they were sending to your agent, and why did you think that?
Because I was asked to give Melissa whatever information that was necessary as far as the proof that I was there in my assessment. Like when I first get there, they do a questionnaire and assessment of where I need to be, what kind of counseling I need, and what help I need. And that's what I had asked, and after it was all done, is they could send that to my probation officer, and I gave him the name. And when I left rehab, I was told that it was sent to her. And they showed me on the files that it was there, like I remember all of that. And then sober living, I was asked by Melissa to give them proof, have the owner of the Ash Recovery Home give proof of my address, my drug screens, and that's what I was told that it was given to her, like I had gotten a screenshot of the email sent to her. I wanted to make sure it was done.
Oh, okay, I don't mean to cut you off, but even though I know you testified a minute ago that maybe you didn't check each thing as far as was it this, was it that, was it the other, was it because you thought this was all going to be lump sum together?
Yeah, I did.
And I know you and your agent had testified about some phone reports prior to October 20th. Was that one of the reasons why you thought it might be okay on the 21st, is because you had done things over the phone before?
Yes,
Now, you also had mentioned that you hadn't necessarily updated all of your information as quickly as perhaps you should have. Why is that?
through everything that had happened at the sober living with like everything's kind of blowing up in my face with me and the owner not getting along because of issues with the house, the living situation, and me moving. It was just so much going on where I wanted me and my children to be safe, and like I was so overwhelmed and I had a lot going on with it. I didn't know what to do as far as like I'm a single mom by myself. I have 2 kids. I'm doing good. I'm doing the best I can at that point, and I was thrown through this huge loop of just chaos. And I was like, why is this happening? I have a job, I'm doing good, I'm finally sober, I'm finally living the right path for me and my children. And then all this chaos just happens. So I'm not trying to sound dismissive or rude, but it was the last thing I was thinking of at the time was to contact my probation officer, because I was trying to make sure my children and I had somewhere safe and somewhere structured.
So if I'm understanding correctly, perhaps it slipped your mind, but you were maliciously trying to
No,
avoid.
I was
Okay.
not.
And just to confirm, everything that you gave on the 20th, all those numbers and addresses, that was all, to your knowledge, fully accurate information,
Absolutely.
because you wanted to stay in touch with it?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. I appreciate your honesty. Thank you.
Ms. Dell?
So is it your testimony that you were worried about calling probation until you were stable?
As far as that, yes, not so much I was unstable. I was stable. I just wanted my living situation more. I wanted a better layout for Melissa. I just didn't want that time period where I wasn't sure what I was doing. I wanted to make sure I was good. And through that whole process, it was just so much chaos. Like it just slipped my mind without being dismissive in a rude way. Like I wasn't trying to put it off like it wasn't important. I just was focused on my children and where we were going.
Didn't you say earlier that out of the sober living, you went to live with your sponsor?
I did.
Are you saying the sponsor was not a safe and stable place?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it was, but it wasn't a permanent place to live. It was a stepping stone from where I was going from sober living to where I was gonna find for myself and my children of my own. It wasn't unstable, unsafe, or,
So if it wasn't unstable or unsafe, why didn't you contact your probation officer?
because I was still in the process of, I was wrong on that. I should have called my probation officer 100%. But though it wasn't unsafe and unstable, that was not the reason. It was safe and stable. I was in it was the best situation I could have been, considering I had nowhere to go. If I didn't go there, I would have been homeless. I wasn't trying to be homeless. I wasn't trying to live at my mom's. I wasn't trying to move back to Cadillac. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm really nervous right now. I don't know. I wasn't trying to sit there and jump back into Cadillac. I know Melissa wasn't really wanting to come back here because it wasn't the best situation for me. So until I had a better safe plan that was more, mine and more permanent, that's what my problem was. I didn't want to give her something that was temporary.
Were you worried that you would go back to jail?
I mean, after so long, absolutely. I mean, I would say, yeah, if I didn't talk to her after so long, of course, that crossed my mind.
Isn't it true that it was this probation officer, Ms. Bismack, that initially got you connected to and got you into inpatient treatment?
Absolutely. Did she help me?
No further questions.
Mr. Hertel?
Just to make sure we're clear on a few things, because I know some things might sound like they're contradicting, and I doubt that's the intent. When you were saying that you were not being dismissive, but that, stuff had slipped your mind, things like that, just to be clear, you weren't deliberately trying to run and hide from the cops or
God,
anything?
no,
I just want to make sure we're clear
No.
about that.
no, absolutely not.
Because I don't want to put too much conjecture on my part in this, but you did make that phone call on the 20th that we listened to, right?
Yeah.
And you made that because you were trying to capitulate, correct?
Yes,
If you don't know what some of my words are, feel free to ask. I use these
Yeah.
fancy lawyer words sometimes. You wanted to cooperate with your probation officer,
I
correct?
did, yes.
All right. I think you've clarified any possible confusion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Dahl?
I have no further questions.
Ms. Bell, can you show me the date and time of that recording that you played for us?
Yes, I have it.
So the record shows that it was recorded October 20th, 2025 at 2:12 PM. Thank you. Does that raise any questions, either counsel?
No, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused?
You may.
You may step down. Any further proofs, Mr. Hartel?
None, Your Honor.
Any rebuttal, Ms. Dole?
Argument, Your Honor?
No, I'm just wondering if you wanted to call witnesses to rebut anything that was said.
No, Your Honor.
All right, an argument?
Thank you, Your Honor. Based on the testimony of the probation officer and the defendant in this case, I believe that she has, that we have proven that Ms. Bell has violated multiple conditions of her probation. Specifically, she did fail to contact probation after leaving sober living on August 16th of 2025. As to number 2, failure to complete counseling, she has not provided for completion of counseling to the probation office, nor any information as to her ongoing counseling to her probation officer until after she was violated. Failed to complete a substance use assessment with Catholic Human Services. She did, as far as the defendant's testimony, she didn't complete an assessment with Catholic Human Services. She states that she believes she completed an assessment in her rehab, but she did not ensure that that was received by her probation office. Oh, I'm sorry, probation officer. She failed to appear to the PV show cause on October 21st of 2025. Although she does have a voicemail from the day before that she could appear by phone. She did actually have contact with Ms. Bismack, who stated that she does need to be here in person, and she did not appear in person. No contact with probation since July 11th of 2025. Ms. Bismack and the defendant testified, although Ms. Bismack was more sure as to the contact, Ms. Bell could not verify how long she has not been in contact with her probation officer. But as to the testimony by Ms. Bismarck, she has not been in contact with probation for at least 90 days during that time frame. I would also like to point out, although it is not listed as a probation violation, based on Ms. Bell's testimony, she failed to provide updated contact information to the probation office multiple times. So I believe she has violated multiple terms of her probation, and she has not been doing what she was ordered to do in this case. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hartel.
Yes, Your Honor. I'd ask the courts not to violate my client, or at least not on all the counts at a minimum. As she did testify to, she believed she'd be given permission on the 20th to appear by phone the subsequent day. There have been prior times she'd been allowed to do things by phone. Perhaps that led to part of the confusion. We all listened to the recording as well. As far as Ms. Bismack then telling her the next day that she's supposed to be in person, obviously the address she gave wasn't exactly across the street. It's not like she could have sprinted up here and appeared 10 seconds later. So any clarification would have been after it was already past the point in question. As far as the substance use assessment, she did testify to why she thought that would have been in the treatment, why it would have been submitted. And she did testify that after she started using public defenders, our public defender's office did help her with covering the fee to do it. I know that's after the day in question, but even though they take them a few days to type it up, we see that with operating while intoxicated cases and such. I want the court to know that as an officer of the court, I am saying that she has been working with her office social worker for that, just so the court's aware. And one of the reasons I say that is to stress the fact that I truly believe her testimony, that if she thought it wasn't fully being incorporated with what she was doing and fully being submitted, she would have done something similar at that point. And I asked the court to make that reasonable inference. As far as failing to contact probation, she did provide some testimony about the various things that were going on. I asked the court to place the appropriate weight on that. As far as uncharged alleged allegations, of violations, I would ask the court to factor in her testimony of there were periods of perhaps not all stability, things of that nature. But again, that's not even necessarily before the court. But at a minimum, I do believe that she provided excellent explanation of why she thought that she wasn't supposed to be in person on the 21st, why she thought the paperwork was being provided properly and ducks were in a row that, to no fault of her own, weren't in a row. And I'll also add, I'm not a medical professional. This court knows I'm not a medical professional, but I deal with people often who are recovering. The brain isn't in the state that we would prefer. So while that brain is still healing, the toxins are leaving, the brain cells are hopefully coming back in the right spots. Stuff that makes sense to us doesn't necessarily make sense to them. They're just trusting in people and the system to do things a certain way. Common sense isn't common when one is in recovery. And I asked the court to factor that into her logic that she was explaining that was going on at that point as well. And even though it wasn't a requirement to be at the sober living facility, she did provide, I believe, honest testimony. It doesn't contradict what the people were providing, I don't believe, on why she left that. I believe that was consistent. There was something going on. It wasn't working out. We don't necessarily need to put the sober living facility on trial here today. I just asked the court to factor that in as well. And again, I'd ask the court not to violate my clients. And if there is any violations, I'll allocate for sentencing at that appropriate moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dahl, any rebuttal?
Just in response to the argument that she in recovery doesn't have the same cognitive function to remember certain things and report certain things. I just want to point out that she did better on the earlier part of her probation while she was still in earlier recovery than after she got into rehab and after she got into sober living. So just pointing that out. Thank you.
Thank you. The court, after having heard the testimony today, does find that the defendant is in violation of her probation under the following charges. First, that the defendant failed to contact the probation office upon leaving the sober living facility on or about August 16th. There was testimony that from Ms. Bismack and essentially Ms. Bell herself that there had been no contact with the probation office since she had left, or since the last check-in on July 11th. So I do find a violation exists there. When it comes to fail to complete the counseling, Ms. Bell testified that she did do counseling and she turned that in, albeit after the allegations arose, but she did turn that in, and I heard no testimony to contradict that or to say that it hadn't been completed before the 22nd. So the court will take Ms. Bell at her testimony, and I do not find a violation for that allegation. As far as failing to complete the substance use assessment with Catholic Human Services, I do find a violation exists there. While Ms. Bell may have thought that the whatever process at the sober living facility did a substance use assessment, ultimately it's her responsibility to make sure that that does occur. When it comes to the failing to appear for the probation violation show cause, I will say this: the court does question a little bit of the recording, as we heard in the middle of the recording. We don't have a recording asking the question. We don't have a recording of who was ever at the probation office answering the phone. But it's clear that the call or a call was recorded the day before. We can hear Ms. Bell being told that she can report by phone. I heard no testimony in rebuttal of that, saying that the person on the other end was not a representative of the Wexford County Probation Office. We also heard Ms. Bell state at that time that she was living in Grosse Pointe. Ms. Bismack did testify that she did tell her that she had a couple hours to report on the 21st, but to be honest, that's just not possible from Grosse Pointe. And so the court will not find her guilty of the failing to appear for the show cause. I do find her guilty of no contact with the probation department since July 11th, 2025. Everybody's testimony states that. So by my count, I do show that the defendant is guilty of 3 technical violations But I also find that that is a moot point because she has essentially been in absconder status for over 60 days, which allows the court to terminate probation. Any allocution? Well, first of all, Mr. Hartel, have you received the probation department recommendation?
I have, Your Honor.
Ms. Dahl, have you received that as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
I will also remind everybody that my predecessor, Judge Wiggins, at the time of sentencing, had sentenced Ms. Bell to 93 days suspended, so my hands are pretty much tied in this case. But, Mr. Hartel, any allocution?
Yes, Your Honor. And I do feel an ethical obligation to mention some very important things, including but not limited to the fact that she's the primary caregiver for her children. I realize the court's hands may or may not be tied the way they are, but just to humanize the situation, I do believe she's been attempting to do everything she can. She's, in my opinion, the opposite of a flight risk. I understand there's everything we heard here today, but she's been consistently in contact with my office. She's been attending court. If the court were to give her more probation, I don't doubt she would do everything she can to complete that successfully. I know the term rumble strips might be oversimplifying it, but I think now that her brain has continued to heal and some of the legalities and navigational directions have been clarified with her. There's probably more articulate ways to word that, but she does know how our system works now. I don't doubt that with her brain the way it is now and this knowledge the way it is now, and the fact that she knows she can call myself or Mr. Henniger, and even after this case is resolved, we'll give her basic what we consider common sense instructions, but they're not common sense to everybody. We'd clarify whatever needed clarified. We cut that one off of the past before she became a client again. That's what I'm trying to say. And our office takes great pride in being able to do that for some people some of the time. And she does continue to have family for moral support here in the courtroom, if I recall correctly. And again, her family really would like her to be there, including her children. Her being away for those 3 months, because 1 day credit obviously doesn't track much. I don't doubt she'd earn every day of good time by good behavior while she's in there, but that doesn't shave off as much as one would prefer either. And the fact the holidays are coming up is just kind of a fact. I know the court can only give that as much weight as the court can give it, but I just want the court to humanize it as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dahl.
Your Honor, the people are requesting that the court follow the recommendation. I do want to highlight, although I was not there at sentencing in this case, there is a note from my predecessor from my office that states any violation will go to jail for 93 days. So I asked the court to follow that. I know that there was some excuses made by the defendant in this case as to some of her violations. She was not found guilty in all of the violations she's charged with, but she admitted to some violations, so she knows she didn't do what she was supposed to do. And she was informed at sentencing that 93 days are suspended, so I asked the court to follow that.
Well, as I said, 93 days suspended was imposed, so my hands are tied. Ms. Bell was well aware of that. I don't buy that her brain wasn't functioning properly, because if that was the case, she wouldn't have been able to take care of her kids while she was in rehab. So, and she testified that taking care of her kids were one of the biggest issues she had. Ms. Bell knew what was at risk, and she was placed on probation in this case, and was doing well in the beginning, but then it kind of went downhill from there. But again, as I said, 93 days was ordered suspended at the time of the original sentencing. So the court will terminate probation. I believe that's valid, given that she had been in this absconder status for more than 60 days. And the sentence will be 93 days jail with credit for 1. Ms. Bell, you need to go with the bailiff.
Hey, thanks for watching. Please do let us know in the comments what you thought of this video. If you'd like to support what we do here, the best way to do it is to pick up some of our merch. You can find it at courtroomfiles.com.